the Mina Show featuring Lenny, only NFL podcast. One of the hosts thinks a cross dog is a dog that hasn't been fed. That's Lenny. Cross dog blitzes were a big topic of conversation earlier this week as we were talking about the Vikings. And I don't know if I've used a cross dog joke for Lenny, but if I have, sue me. It works. Joining me today to preview Week 10, we're at the halfway point, is Brentley Weissman. Brentley, you know from appearing on this podcast before. Which division do we preview, Brentley?
We have the AFC South, and I will say my Daniel Jones take aged pretty well. I'm not going to lie. I kind of called it. Yeah, I kind of called it.
There you go. AFC South has been, I would say, probably the most, well, I think the Colts are probably the most surprising team in football. We'll talk about them. Interesting team. I have some thoughts. Brentley, you can find his work at A to Z Sports. He covers the draft. He does a lot of stuff for the Ducks. You went to Oregon, right? That's your
proud alum.
Work for the Chargers. But today he is here to help me discuss the Week 10 games. As always, we are going to discuss all of the games. Some of them we will discuss in more detail with others. So I was just talking about this with Brentley before we started taping. Most of the big trades broke while Ben Solak and I were taping, which was really funny. But one broke immediately afterwards, and that was the Jets sending Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are not playing, but the Jets are, so we can talk about it a little bit then, and maybe just kind of the Jets generally, because it's such a stinker of a game. I don't really want to get into great detail there. But yeah, so we'll get to my thoughts on Quinnen Williams and the Cowboys and the Jets and what both teams are doing. Two teams that seem to be headed in very different directions. Interdivisional matchup. The Raiders and the Broncos are playing on Thursday Night Football. This game I just gave to myself. So the Broncos stood pat at the deadline, which makes sense. I didn't think they had any really glaring needs. The Raiders traded away Jacoby Myers. We'll talk about that on the Jag side. Brock Bowers might catch 1 million passes in this game. I mean, so it's funny because last week I said I'm really interested in seeing, like, finally Brock Bowers is back, and it was everything you could have hoped for as a Brock Bowers fan. I thought Geno Smith, who's obviously struggled this year, was actually decent against the Jags. And he fed Bowers a lot. Unfortunately for Geno, the Broncos are a different animal on defense than the Jags. So I'm not going to talk about, I'm going to focus on the other side of the ball because I think, it's just such a mismatch. I will say something that I noticed in the Jags game. So Geno was like killing the Jags when they blitzed him. He went 13 for 17 for 134 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then I pulled it up on the season out of curiosity, and he's actually 4th in QBR against the blitz this year. So Denver does love to blitz. I do not think they need to blitz very much in this one. Basically just make him throw to anyone but Bowers, and you can pressure and win against this offensive line. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, because Bo Nix is your guy for Oregon. So I do want to hear because this is definitely the bigger question mark with this Broncos team. The offense has been so inconsistent, ups and downs. If the football was only played in the fourth quarter, I think we would feel pretty damn good about the Broncos, but it's not. One of the more interesting splits in football is Bo Nix has been awesome against man coverage and terrible against zone. Some of the reasons for that, I think, are one, his ability to scramble versus man coverage. I also think a lot of his big plays have been just like Courtland Sutton mossing dudes. So my key for this is really simple. I'd like to see, I think the Raiders are going to play a lot of zone, and I'd like to see Bo Nix beat it for 4 quarters. But I wanted to ask you about that discrepancy, and are you seeing something with him that you think is different in these gotta have it situations, or do you think it's just inconsistency and inaccuracy early on?
Yeah, so I think an interesting split I have right here is in the first half, Nix has ran the ball just 12 times for 49 yards. But in the fourth quarter of the games this season, he's ran it 27 times for 122 yards. So he's able to really pick up yards and move the chains on these late downs in the fourth quarter with his legs. Bo Nix has always been a player when he's in a rhythm, he's accurate and he's on time and he can find open receivers. But when he's a little off schedule, that's where the issues arise. And I think that's really showing in the first half of these games. I think between the man and zone stuff is, to your point, when teams are playing zone coverage, they're all just kind of looking at him, and Bo has to kind of be able to read off defenders. That's not his strength, right? And so I think that's why he's better in man coverage. Luckily for Bo, the Raiders defense, they don't get any pressure on him on quarterbacks without Crosby. So I do think Bo will be able to sit in the pocket, read the defense, find open receivers. But again, he's at his best when he's in rhythm and is able to use his legs.
Yeah, the rhythm thing is a really good point. Dan and I were talking about this because we get asked constantly, what the hell is going on? Like, why is the switch flipping? And it's funny because, like, usually when you ask Dan about it, we're trying to like isolate scheme things and whatever. And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, he just looks juiced out there all the time. Like, he just like is unsettled. And I don't know if that's something that's going to improve with time with him. But, fortunately, the defense is so good, they can kind of spot teams' quarters like the way that they have. And I think, again, with the Raiders, this is not an issue. I'm just sort of thinking about it moving forward, because if this is a team with very obviously realistic playoff aspirations, you want to see a little bit more consistency on. I'd love to see them run the ball in this one well in the first half. I think they should be able to against the Raiders. The Raiders defense isn't like tragic. They're pretty middling on run defense. But the Broncos rushing attack, which has improved as the year has gone on, Brentley, I think should be a top 10 run game, no question. So, and we've seen that, we've definitely seen it in spurts.
Yeah, I think that's my bigger issue with this Broncos offense. And sure, like Knicks has played better in the first half and then the first three quarters. But Sean Payton's like lack of rhyme or reason with the volume in which he runs the ball just kills me. Like J.K. Dobbins is playing so well this year.
So good.
They have R.J. Harvey, who's come on as of late. They need to be a run-first team. But Sean Payton, like to his core, hates running the football. Like he would just love to pass the ball nonstop every play. But this offense is not built for that. And I think maybe down the road it can get to that point. But this whole team is a defense-led first team. And they should be a smash mouth, control the clock, establish the tempo with the running game. They have really not done that, like consistently from beginning to the end of in any football game.
The Raiders linebackers to really struggle. Play action, I think, should be on the table here. And of course, that also is related to just kind of the general approach. I mean, I'm picking the Broncos here. I assume you are too. But I'm just like, give me a full game, man. Give me a full game. I mean, he looked really. What was the game where we were the throwbacks? Who's that against?
I think it was at Dallas.
Was that okay? So that doesn't count. So give me a full game against a normal defense, or let him wear the throwbacks full time. Okay, let's keep it moving. You have Giants Bears. The Bears coming off of one of the more insane games of the NFL season against the Bengals. Somebody on, I can't remember if it was Blue Sky or Twitter, said it felt like watching two drunk guys in an alley fighting. Caleb, we got out of structure. Caleb at the end. It was pretty sick. What is your key in this game?
Yeah, so I wanted to, I was debating starting with the Chicago Bears offense. Obviously, last week was just such a crazy offensive showdown, and the Bears did whatever they wanted against the Bengals defense. But I think one thing that was lost in kind of the shuffle, Mina, behind all those offensive touchdowns and everything, was just how bad this Bears defense was last year, and really how bad they've been all season. They are actually 28th in pressure rate, so they're not getting to the quarterback. And then they are, looks like, second in giving up explosive plays down the field, and then third most 20-plus yards passes. So this Bears defense can be had. And then they're going against this Jackson Dart offense with New York that's actually playing some good ball. I thought last week they did some good things against 49ers. Jackson Dart, when he's not pressured, is completing, I think, 66% of his passes. And again, Chicago doesn't get to the quarterback. So I think Jackson Dart is going to have time here to be able to find open receivers down the field. And then, Mina, the one thing I saw, which I think really is a testament to Jackson Dart's legs, they are the 6th best team in converting third downs, and also the 10th best teams in turning red zone trips to touchdowns. I think
Yeah.
that speaks to his legs. And
Totally.
if Chicago Bears aren't going to be able to pressure him, he's going to be able to find open receivers, and he's so good with his legs.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be able to score some points. I think both offenses will score, but I do think the Giants offense will be able to move the ball.
I think you're absolutely right about the red zone and the scrambling impact on that. As a Jackson Dart fantasy manager, by the way, loving it.
Yeah. You're thriving.
Yeah, but I want to focus on the Bears defense because you bring up how bad they've been. I mean, the lack of pressure is really a problem. And if we think about this team and can they compete for a wild card spot and all of that, that to me is the biggest question mark. They traded for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, which is kind of a move at the margins at this point. Austin Booker. It's funny because I was like, Austin Booker. And I was like, oh, I remembered I did a preview ahead of the combine with Mike Renner, whatever year he was drafted. Was that 2020?
I think it was 2024.
2024. Okay, so it's 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
and I watched him, and his tape was
he killed Flacco last week.
So he was really good in this game, right?
Yeah.
And it was the first. I was like, okay, maybe there's something here because they desperately need edge help. But I remember watching him in college, his college tape, and thinking, this is a really interesting player. Very raw, very long, very fast, very unique physical attributes. I was thinking, if he puts it all together, and he hasn't played this year, this was his first game. So I think as a Bears fan, that's a player to keep an eye out for. Like, can he kind of fill this gaping hole in our pass rush? Because I think the secondary can be fine. And linebacker group, there's been some aggression, but there's improvement there. But the lack of pass rush has been absolutely killing them. You're totally right about that. And, Jackson Dart, he'll take some sacks, you have seen that. So yeah, I really, you make a really good point about this defense and how it's been quite disappointing, even with some injuries that they've had, obviously, particularly on the back end. Really quick, Caleb, check-in. I mean,
yeah. So I
how you
thought
feeling?
last week was very up and down. I watched the whole game. I did a report for Underdog Fantasy with Hayden and Josh on their show, and one of my things was I thought there's a lot of throws he wanted back in the first half. He had some, kind of just a really bad delay of game on the goal line, which is just inexcusable for Caleb Williams. But second half, you saw what makes him so exciting. The off-platform stuff, the ability to use his legs and evade pressure and throw on the run. Like, it was just remarkable. But you're still searching for that down-to-down consistency and ability to win in structure. I think against this Giants pass rush, like, that will be a test. Is he going to stand in the pocket against Brian Burns, KT, and Abdul Carter? We'll see. But I do think after last week, you should feel positive that maybe he's taking steps in the right direction.
Yeah, it was nice to see him just take over a football game like the way he did, and it was very reminiscent, obviously, of the things we saw that made him the number 1 overall draft pick, and, it continues to just be, like, a little bit of down-to-down accuracy. The Bengals defense also stinks.
Yeah,
and the Giants defense has major issues on the back end, but, like, as you said, the Patriots, I mean, Brian Burns is having, like, quietly one of the great seasons on a bad team right now. Bears tackles played well, so we'll see. It's going to be an interesting. I think for Chicago, just to address it, really want to see them run the ball. New York's run defense is abysmal. I think you can keep Caleb out of third and long. The Bears' run game continues to be awesome. Kyle Monangai, man, Monangai. Whew. So I'm taking the Bears here. How about you?
I am going to take the Bears to win, but I actually like the Giants to keep it close and cover. So I think it's going to be a close, high-scoring game.
Now I'm curious about how dramatic the line is. I mean, I
have it. Looks like the Bears. What do I got? -3.5. Yeah, I think the Giants can keep that close.
Yeah, it's in New York. Yeah. All right. I've got Bills Dolphins. Let's do that one next.
All right.
This is a rematch. The Bills won the first game pretty easily. James Cook ran all over them. I expect that to happen again. He got a little banged up, right? But I think he's fine. Let me just double check this.
Looks
The
like he missed practice today, but we'll see.
Not practicing Wednesday. Okay,
Yeah.
well, monitor that. Um, the Dolphins in this game, Tua just dinked and dunked all over them, or not all over them, but that was all he did was dink and dunk. This was before Tyreek Hill got hurt.
Yep.
Achane went crazy. So I'm interested in seeing. So this isn't really like the Bills have to do this to win the game. The Bills are going
Yeah.
to win
Yeah.
the game probably, but I want to see. I was so encouraged last week by what I saw from the Bills defense against Kansas City. However, Brentley, like the approach against Kansas City was very coverage centric.
Yeah.
They played a ton of dime personnel. Ben and I talked about how good Cole Bishop was in that role.
Remarkable.
Right? But some of that was a little bit, I thought, styles make fights because Kansas City can't run the ball. So I'd love to see if we can see another similar performance against a Dolphins team that I actually think is right now better running the ball than throwing it. I want to see if they can limit Achane on the ground here. He had the Dolphins had 130 rushing yards and 5.2 yards per carry last time these teams played. I don't think it's going to be key to winning the game. I just kind of want to see like, okay, cool. Like, you've made some personnel tweaks on the back end. We've got some young players coming in. Because, for me with Buffalo, the defense has just been the biggest question mark. And I want to continue to feel good about this defense as we head into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be fascinated to see if they do, because to your point, they ran so much dime and they were just so kind of focused on covering Kansas City skill players and making sure Mahomes had a tough day. Well, what do they look like against a Miami team that is really at its best when they're able to run the ball with Devon Achane? Are we going to see them do different things schematically, or are they just going to stick to that dime package which worked against Kansas City? Because I do think as we get later onto the season, when you start talking about the Colts and the Chargers and these teams who want to run the football, the Ravens, the Bills defense is going to have to prove that they're able to stop the run. And I think watching them, this Sunday is going to be a big test, so
yeah.
I think Bills will win, but I'm fascinated to see what they look like on defense.
Yeah. The run defense thing is interesting, right? Because you mentioned the rate, like we were talking about after the Chiefs performance. Okay, who can run on them? Like, who do they? And the Ravens have not been great, but they haven't been healthy. The Colts, ostensibly are a team that they have to worry about with their rushing attack with Jonathan Taylor. So, just something to monitor. I will say the Bills are lucky that they're not lucky, but I think their style right now is much better suited to the AFC than the NFC, right?
Absolutely.
So, like they are actually, turns out, a good matchup for the Chiefs right now, which is important. All right, we're both taking the Bills. You have a quietly very interesting one here. Oh, no, we're both doing this one. Sorry.
Yep.
Ravens Vikings. Okay, this isn't quietly interesting. It's actually interesting. It's why we're both doing it. All right, I'm on the Viking side of this. And I'm not going to talk about JJ McCarthy. I'm going to talk about the defense, which I thought just had an absolutely astounding performance against a Lions team that had been terrorizing them. This is pretty simple. Can you sack Lamar Jackson? Because this year, he's gettable. I think even, seeing him coming back, it was interesting because it was against the Dolphins, obviously. They were terrible. He's unbelievably accurate still. You saw that and then he still makes those one of one plays, the one where he like shook off. It was Jalen Phillips, I think, actually. He just kind of like shook him off easily and then found Isaiah Likely. I mean, he's an unbelievable football player. But they got to him a couple times. And you see this year, sometimes it'll be teams spying him a little bit. His sacks aren't for like negative yard. They're not like big sacks. They're like usually like 1 yard or something. And they usually
they're like late in the down. They're very late in the down.
Yes, he's kind of like bopping around, moving at his own Lamar pace. And then a guy brings it down. You're like, whoa, that used to not happen. So I think for Brian Flores, Lamar hasn't played Brian Flores since 2021, which is before the current iteration of the defense, or the Vikings rather. I'm very interested to see how he borrows from the teams that have given him trouble this year. The Lions defense and the Chiefs defense, I thought both had excellent containment plans that led to sacks while also not making huge sacrifices in coverage, and I wanna see what Flores can put together to try to bring Lamar down.
Yeah, no, that I'm fascinated to see that. I think Flores was in his bag last week, but obviously Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson are very different players. So just kind of seeing how he schemes that defense around Lamar is gonna be fascinating. For my key, I had the Ravens, kind of same sides of the ball. I want to see if the Ravens are able to run the ball on first and second down against this defense. I
Yeah.
think when you watch the game back last week with the Lions and Vikings, Brian Flores did such a good job getting his players in position to win on the other side of the line of scrimmage on running downs. And so they forced the Lions in these known passing situations, and then Brian Flores is teed off. He was listening to you and Ben, all the cross dog blitzes. They had Jameer Gibbs in.
Those won't work
Just,
against Lamar. By the way, you come through the middle of Lamar, he's escaping.
It's a wrap.
That's a Jared
wrap.
Goff specific pressure plan. Yeah.
Yeah. But the one way to stop a blitz heavy havoc creation team is running the ball. Keeping third down and pass run neutral distances. And so I think if Derrick Henry can get going early on in the game, especially on first and second down, the Ravens offense will be able to dictate the terms of the game. And it's literally shown once the calendar hits November, Derrick Henry gains, I think it's like 0.5 more yards per carry. Like, it's wild. And now it's November 5th. Like, I think Derrick Henry's really going to start getting going here. And we're going to see the Ravens offense from last year where they were just cooking with gas. I think that starts this week. The Vikings defense is phenomenal, but they're actually much better against the pass than they are versus the run. They're 8th in overall EPA against the pass, 19th against the run. So I like the Ravens here to be able to move the ball on the ground and then Lamar be able to hit some shot plays down the field.
Were you surprised that Detroit couldn't run the ball better? Because to your point, the Vikings defense has struggled against the run. Some of that was, they didn't have Blake Cashman, but even when they got Cashman back, there were still some struggles in especially recently, coming into this game against Detroit. I thought the Lions would be able to run on them, and the Vikings run defense really stood them up.
Yeah, someone who has Jameer Gibbs in fantasy, I was stressing last week. He got me 3 points. I think a lot of it, though, Mina, the Lions' offensive line was just decimated really throughout the game last week. So I don't think that helped. But the Vikings were just shooting gaps. They were just shooting gaps and getting behind the line of scrimmage. And, they were just really there in terms of when Jameer got the ball. He was met at the line of scrimmage and there was nowhere for him to go. And so I don't know if that's going to be the case against the Ravens, who were on a different style of running game. Obviously, Derrick Henry's better at breaking tackles. So I do think the Ravens will be able to move the ball against the Vikings on the ground.
I think Todd Monken is so important in this game. Obviously, going up against Brian Flores, it's a great coaching matchup, right? The other side is really good too. This is a great coaching game.
Yeah.
But from an information gathering perspective, he's got to get a good feel for how the backers are playing Lamar. I think, when I think back to the Lions game, it felt like they never punished the backers for spying Lamar. If Minnesota comes out and there's a backer who's maybe he's showing pressure, he's dropping Wilson or Cashman or whatever, you got to punish them for doing that in a way that I don't think he did early, before Lamar got hurt. And I like your point a lot about running the football because, we talked about the Bills. If I want to take this Ravens team seriously, not just as a playoff, but as a Super Bowl contender again, I want to see them run the football better than they have, especially from a matchup perspective. If they can run between the tackles the way they did last year, suddenly you're looking at the Bills and Chiefs defense. That's a vulnerability for both of those teams. So, important opportunity. Really quick on JJ McCarthy, though. The Ravens defense, very active, by the way. They go out, they get Draymond Jones. Obviously they did the trade already for Lloyd Gilman. So it seems like the defense has stabilized some. I thought the JJ game was weird.
Yeah,
it was an odd one because he came out and when they were on the scripted stuff, they just shredded the Lions man coverage. But then as the game went on, it was pretty up and down. He had a couple nice outs and
Yeah.
he's athletic, but it was definitely like, oh, okay, he's holding on the football again. He's not really seeing the field well. So I'll be interested in seeing kind of, do we see some continued progression? Because in those first couple drives, he looked awesome. He was like, ball was coming out fast. He was accurate. He's hitting the fade to Addison. And then it was like, oh, okay, here we go. A little bit more up and down.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ravens pass defense is not great. I think they're 26th in the league in EPA. So and then they're facing Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. So I think the Vikings have a clear advantage there. But I still have my reservations about JJ as in terms of just being a straight up kind of pocket, drop back passer. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to think he's just going to come out here and shred a Baltimore defense that has been playing better, to your point. But I do think from a pass catching standpoint, the Vikings receivers are going to be open. They're going to be open. Can Baltimore's defense get to JJ? I think that's the question of this game as well.
Yeah, the pressure, I think, is going to be key. Mike Green had a sack recently. Draymond Jones, I don't view him at this point as like a plus pass rusher, but he brings some physicality versus on the
ground. He's been on a roll lately, but still, I don't know how much of that is just circumstance. I haven't gone back and watched his sacks, but he has 4.5 sacks in his past 4 games. So
they certainly could use a depth. I will say that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm taking Baltimore here. How about you?
I am also taking Baltimore. I have a stat. I love this stat. Lamar's 23-4 when facing NFC teams. It's crazy.
That's insane.
It's actually nuts. And I think a lot of it is because these coaches don't know how to prepare for him because they don't see him enough.
Yeah.
But he just destroys NFC teams. So I'm going to take Lamar, and I think they're going to get a win on the road.
I do think Flores will have an interesting plan for him, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Flores, last week was a reminder that he's still got, his fastball. So, okay. Let's move on to the aforementioned stinker, Browns Jets. This is you. So, let's talk about the trade here before we dive into. Interestingly enough, let's talk about from the Jets' perspective, because the Jets were extreme sellers, obviously, to an unprecedented level, and then the Browns didn't do anything. I will say, just to talk about this from the Jets' perspective, I think it's better that the Jets did. I don't know why the Browns. I look at some of these bad teams around the NFL, the Browns, the Bengals come to mind, and I just feel like these teams need to be more active at the trade deadline and think about next year. I understand job security is an issue with some of them and whatnot, but if I'm the Browns, I don't know maybe you didn't get any offers or whatnot, but I do feel like they should have been sellers like the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Browns, I would have shopped Njoku. I would have tried to get rid of Jerry Jeudy. I would have tried to at least shop some of these guys and kudos to the Jets. I thought the Jets cleaned up. I thought they did a great job. I mean, I'm a Gardner guy, but I mean 2 1s and Adonai Mitchell. I think that's home run value. And the Quinn and Williams, they get the one. I want to say it's in 20.
The better one.
The better one. Yeah, they get the Cowboys one, not the Packers.
I know. I
saw
the
Jets
that's
went
good
off
work.
yesterday. I loved it.
Bougie.
Yeah.
From the Cowboys' perspective, really quick, because I didn't talk about it yesterday because it broke after.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, Quinn Williams is a good player. He's only a couple years removed from putting up some pretty insane numbers in terms of pressures. This year, he's been very good against the run. He shores up the run defense, no doubt. But the second and third levels of the defense are still so bad that I don't see it being a game changer enough this season. And then it's okay, well, we want him for the long term. Cool. But essentially, you gave up Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark, the flexibility to get Williams, and you moved up in the draft. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It felt like doing something to do something, if that makes sense. Yeah.
100%. To me, it felt like Jerry Jones has a little regret about what he did with Micah. And so he's like, okay, what can I do here to minimize the pain in my heart that I'm feeling, right? Because it really doesn't make sense. Because Quinnen's not going to change the defense to a point this year where they're going to turn around and win, the remaining 7 games or whatever, right? And they can make a deep run in the playoffs. So secondary is too bad. And their offense is good, but they cannot cover anyone down the field. And Quinnen Williams is not going to change that. Okay, cool. We have Quinnen Williams for next year. Well, next year, like if we're thinking of that far in advance, it'd be nice to have a blue chip player like Micah freaking Parsons in the fold as well. So I don't really understand it from the Cowboys perspective. I'm not going to knock it because they get Quinnen Williams. I think he's a good player. I just don't see the long-term vision behind anything Jerry Jones and Dallas does. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah. I was also trying to think, like, maybe if they had done this before the season, I would have felt a little bit more like, okay, cool, we're getting some value this year. Maybe, he has the ability to change some of those games. I don't know. I can't, I'm not fully hating on it because he is a good player. He's under roster. I think they have like 2 years left on his deal. They're going to have to pay him eventually. But it just, when you kind of take a step back and look at the plan as a whole, I don't think it is actually that logical. All right. So, Browns Jets, what's your key for this glorious whatever's left of the Jets defense?
Yeah. So before the trade deadline, I was going to come here and talk about, I think the keys and the Browns forcing the Jets to pass, stopping their run game, and making the Jets offense one-dimensional. But I do think now that the Jets literally traded everyone on their defense, I want to talk about Dillon Gabriel and if the Browns are finally going to be able to create some explosive plays. Kevin Stefanski gave up offensive play calling duties. Now it's going to be Tommy Rees. And when they interviewed Stefanski, he had said, quoted, "We need to create more explosive plays. If there's any game, if there's any defense to try to do so, it's against the Jets. The Jets, and this is with Sauce Gardner, were 27th in EPA against the pass, and they're only going to get worse. And then now they're starting Azare Thomas, who I do like, and Brandon Stevens. I just feel like Tommy Rees in his first game as a play caller is going to be aggressive. He's going to pull out all the tricks and stops and try to get Jerry Jeudy single up down the field. I just feel like now is the time to try to let Dillon Gabriel prove that he's the guy, create some explosives, and I think this Jets defense is vulnerable enough for them to do so. So I like the Browns here to win, and I think it's going to be because of Dillon Gabriel actually making some plays.
I'm on the Browns as well. We don't actually know who's starting at Jets quarterback. I like Fields is obviously coming off of the big win.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee.
No. Aaron Glenn is literally playing dumb with the media after gaslighting the media for all season.
Yeah, I think you'd rather have Fields, but the Browns' run defense is very good, and it's a tough spot for him. And like you said, this is a huge opportunity for Dillon Gabriel against this defense and what's left of it. So, I'm interested in seeing it. All right. That thus concludes our coverage of Browns Jets. I'm taking the Browns as well. Okay, so let's go to a good game. Patriots Bucks. This is a good one. I'll go first here. I'm on the Bucks side of it. So I was just pulling up the injury report, but I'm gonna focus on the defense, the Bucks defense, because I think there's vulnerabilities there that New England can attack, and maybe you'll talk about those. We'll see. I wrote, can you pressure Drake May without blitzing him? Because Drake May this year has been an absolute assassin against the blitz. First in QBR in the league, in the NFL against the blitz. And when he's kept clean, Drake May's been good at everything this year, but I think the blitz thing too, what strikes me is they have a lot of guys who can beat you and get yards after the catch and it's part of the reason why his numbers are so good against the blitz. And so we know Tampa blitzes a decent amount, but they've got some pass rushers who are playing okay. Yaya Diaby's been good this year. Before the bye, Anthony Nelson looked really good. Hassan Reddick had been hurt. So I do think with Todd Bowles, who is, a very, very good defensive game planner, you might want to dial back the heat in this one, because I feel like if they send pressure, Drake May is just going to kill him.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely possible. Drake May has just been so freaking good in pretty much any situation that's thrust upon him. Like he's answered the bell. Josh McDaniels putting him in a position to win down to down. Like I've just been so impressed with Drake May. I don't think if the Patriots lose this game, it's going to be because of Drake May. I think, their inability to run the football is kind of a crutch to that offense.
Yeah.
But for my key, I'm actually going to go with New England's secondary. I think that is a massive issue for this defense, which has by all accounts been unreal. Like they've been amazing at
I have a
defense.
note on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going. Yeah,
I
I'll
was
tell
gonna
you.
say, yeah. So I think they are 10th in EPA in overall defense, but like they're third in run defense. Like this is one of the best run
Really
defenses
good
we've
against
seen.
the run.
Yeah,
These two teams are
outstanding.
both. By the way, this is for both teams. Don't run the ball. Do not run the ball.
Literally,
you're gonna lose. Both teams, Tampa and New England. Okay, continue.
Literally, and
Huge
so I do
mismatch on
think
both
if you're Tampa Bay and Bucky Irvin didn't play today, so we'll see, or practice today, is Wednesday, so we'll see if he returns or not. I feel he's probably not going to return. But if you're Tampa, you have to feel like you have opportunities to win down the field. And yes, Mike Evans is out. Your number one receiver is a rookie, Emeka Egbuka, who's been phenomenal. But the Patriots secondary has been vulnerable. You know, you saw Drake London and Michael Penix just absolutely cook last week. Carlton Davis has just been okay. And even Christian Gonzalez, you know, who I love, he has not played to the level of which you thought he would be as a potential all-pro player. And so I think there's going to be room for Baker Mayfield coming out of a bye to really cook against this New England passing defense. And if they don't, get pressure on Baker, I'm not sure where the stops are going to come. I really think that Tampa's offense is that explosive. So I think that's honestly where the key to this game is.
I wrote find Carlton Davis.
Yep.
So it's not even that he's been that bad per se, but I just think Emeka Egbuka is a huge. Emeka Egbuka is the huge. I almost did a Gronk there.
Oh no.
That
was bad.
Mismatch. So Drake London, I mean, he was like, unconscious against.
He's different.
Team. I mean, it was crazy. He stacked Gonzalez on the go ball, and then he hit like the blaze out on Davis at one point. That I went like, oh god! And then he had the one hander in the end zone. So I do want to say, like, he is a uniquely incredible player, but I also think that they can be had on the back end. To your point, you do not want to run the football against them. And I think that matchup is one that I like for Tampa if they're able to find it. Weirdly, not weirdly, but you could argue Marcus Jones has been maybe their best. He's been awesome for them in the slots. So.
He's been phenomenal.
So yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. I think if want to go back to New England for a second though, so we're in agreement. Both sides you want to pass the ball. The one other thing I'll say. You got to go after the linebackers in coverage. That's just such a weakness on this. The Bucs DBs are playing really good, but the linebackers are very vulnerable in coverage. You have seen teams hunt them with both linebackers with success. And they did some cool stuff with Pop Douglas coming out of the backfield. And I think the backs they could use in the passing game too. There's no reason for Drake May. Like I said they can pass on him, but it doesn't have to be like 20 yards down the field against this defense. I think you can win with short passes. I'm taking New England here. I just think they're so balanced right now. And I just think Drake May, it's very hard for me to find weaknesses in his game at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite you here. So I think this might be our first.
Okay, good. No, this is a close one.
I think just Tampa at home.
It's in New England. Oh yeah, it's in Tampa. Sorry, at 2.5. So that's like
in Tampa. I'm just like after a bye. I just feel like they're gonna do enough offensively to get a close win. But I think it'll be a really good game.
All right, let's do one more before the break. Let's see. Let's move on. Let's do Jags Texans.
Houston.
This one this is me. This is a rematch. Always fun.
Yep.
So. Okay, so the Jags, this is the one where you got to check the injury report because Brian Thomas Jr.'s status is up in the air. We talked about Brock Bowers catching a million passes. New wide receiver, Jacoby Myers-Michael. So I wrote Jacksonville, can you run the ball on them? Jags run game, one, because I wouldn't even call it the weakness of this Texans defense. You can't throw on them. I mean, this
Yeah.
pass defense is unbelievable right now. It's a huge mismatch that favors Houston. I mean, Jags barely have wide receivers, and the Texans have more DBs than they know what to do with, and they have a devastating four-man rush. But there's some vulnerability on the ground, and when I look at this Jags, so the Jags run game has really slowed since the beginning of the season after losing Brenton Strange. But they did something interesting against the Raiders, and it's like every week a new NFL team does this. They went full jumbo. Have you
Yep.
noticed this? Every week a
6
different
offensive
team is
linemen.
like,
Yeah.
eh,
They were doing that all game last week.
so 32% of offensive snaps. Before that game, it had never been over 8%.
Yeah.
And when they did that, they ran the ball decently well against a Raiders run defense that's not horrible, as we talked about earlier. So, this game is kind of one of those, like, which offensive line is going to get their, like, ass kicked more. I do think for Jacksonville, you have to be able to run. This is true of almost every team against Texans, but you have to be able to run the football to give quarterback a chance against this pass rush.
Yeah, I literally had that same thing written down. Like, I think the key to this game is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars running the football and trying to limit Trevor Lawrence being in long third down passing situations, because that's when Will Anderson is going to tee off, and then these corners are just going to come up and play press, and these receivers are just not going to be able to separate without Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, who's looking like he may not play here on Wednesday at the very least. So I think definitely if the Jags can run the ball on the ground, and the Texans without CJ Stroud, I think the Jags can win on the road. But if they can't get the running game going, I think then it comes down to which defense plays better, and then I would have to lean Texans. So I'm going to go with the Jags and pray they can run the ball, but don't feel good about it. But I'm gonna roll with the Jags, and I think ETN will get going on the ground.
I'm going to go Texans here, so we'll split again. This is another very
Yep.
close one. Obviously, it's a 1-point game, 1-point line. I just don't know who Trevor Lawrence is going to throw to. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, that defense, whew, buddy, I love watching them. It's like week after week they lose, and this is how I felt against the Broncos. And you're just watching this defense thinking, this is such a goddamn shame, because this defense is like, they hunt.
Oh, it's insane. I saw a tweet. Oh, gosh, I'm blanking on who tweeted it, but it was today. Like, I think it's the top 5 lowest quarterback passer ratings in wins, and 3 of them are against the Texans defense. So it just shows, like, even in their losses, this defense is just balling out. Like, it's not this defense's fault.
It's not their fault. Okay, we'll come back and talk about the second half of games after the break. All right, we're back. Colts Falcons is the 6:30 game, so I guess chronologically I should have started with that. It's in Germany. So weird. So I'll go first. I'm on the Falcons side of this, and really, I just watched Colts Steelers on tape this morning, so it's kind of simmering in my brain. Like, how did this Steelers defense stop the scorching hot Colts offense? They just won on first down, and I think that's something that, watching the Colts offense this year, Brentley, they're so good. The play action pass has been unbelievable. Daniel Jones has been bombing it. But you've had a lot of teams who have like aggressively played the run, and they've punished them for it. The Steelers kind of flipped it on them by playing the pass more on early downs, and it felt like Steichen was like taken by surprise and never really adjusted. Get to the Steelers. Like, honestly, I was screaming. I just texted Jeff Saturday. I'm becoming you. I'm screaming, run the ball, watching the damn Colts. But in any case, though, the thing about this Colts offensive line, Brentley, is like they're much better run blocking than pass protection. And that was really, and obviously TJ Watt is, but the Falcons pass rush is very good too. I think like the young players have played well. So I think what you just have to find a way to win on first down, and you can't. I would say this: if they play the pass the way Pittsburgh did, I suspect this time around Indianapolis will hand it off more because of what happened last week. So for the Falcons, it just kind of comes down to like, can you bow up enough in the front? If they do run on early downs, while also not getting got in the play action pass, similarly to like what Pittsburgh did, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, and that kind of goes into like my key, at least for the Colts, just the opposite. Can you guys establish the run early and often and
Yeah.
avoid Daniel Jones being an obvious passing downs on third downs? Because actually, the Falcons, to your point, they get pressure. They're actually,
Yeah.
they get some pressure, and they're one of the better pass defenses in the NFL. Looks like they're seventh in EPA. So they have a clear strength, which is again in coverage, and then a clear weakness in run defense. It looks like I think they're 27th in EPA in the run game. So the Colts are the best running team in the NFL. So they should be able to establish a run early, let Daniel Jones not be in those really obvious passing downs like he was last week, where the Steelers were able to just tee off and they had 5 sacks on him. Like Daniel Jones did not look like the Daniel Jones we've seen this year or last week. And a big part of that is because they weren't able to run the ball efficiently. So if the Colts can run the ball on first and second down, get in kind of good field position and get out of negative plays, I think the Colts are going to win this pretty handily. I think that's really, to me, like the only chance that Atlanta has is if the Colts are stubborn and don't give it to Jonathan Taylor like 25 times.
On the flip side, we're gonna see Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
He's practicing. He's wearing the Colts jersey. Looks crazy.
How mad is Drake London right now? He's probably
I
thinking, I'm about to
know.
cook, I'm about to eat, like this is
Especially,
gonna be sweet.
dude, watching the Steelers game, like the Colts corners were just. I mean,
Oh,
they've had injuries, right? So, yeah, that makes it interesting. Atlanta's defense is like one of my or offense, for me, is like one of the most frustrating units in the NFL for me week to week. It just feels like they're a very matchup dependent offense. Um, I feel like you'd really like to see Bijan get going in
yeah.
this one. I think the Colts run defense is fine. Um, I still feel like there's going to be opportunities for Bijan here. I I'm kind of tired of like saying the same stuff about the Falcons offense. Like when you watch them, what would you say? Because especially when you watch like Drake London have the kind of game he did
Yeah.
last week, do you watch that and you think, why doesn't this happen every game? Like why? Like
Well, it's the same thing. It's like it's not just that. It's like, okay, why don't you feed Drake London every game? We know the talent he is, but it's like also where's the consistent volume to Bijan? I mean, I think the past few weeks he hasn't been getting the type of carries that a top 3, maybe 4 NFL running backs should be getting. Like he's clearly their best offensive player, but they're just not feeding him the ball. And I understand they played New England last week, and we just talked about how good
yeah.
that running defense is. So I get that. However, I just feel like even going back to the Niner game, like they never got Bijan going, and I just feel like Bijan should be the focal point to this offense, and it hasn't been over the past few weeks.
Love to see Bijan get going in the passing game as
Yes.
well. I feel like that is always an underutilized aspect of this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Colts have a good rush. I was just gonna pull up. I'm like, are they as good as in my mind? They're pretty average against the run. Let me pull this up because I feel
Yeah.
like
I don't think they're anything special against the run or the pass. I think they're just a kind of average defense that's been able to play with the lead.
yeah, they're kind of like in the 10 to 17 range on
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, so it is funny, right? Like, so even if Gardner is on London, I would still take shots.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think for Atlanta, you're probably going to need a change up in the passing game now that the cornerback group is a little different.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Indianapolis here. I think they bounce back, and as we've discussed, I do think that they're able to run the ball on
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
They'll
I'm
get
going
that
with Colts as well.
point of emphasis. All right, moving along. Let's go Arizona, Seattle. Was a sneaky important game. We got big news, which is Jacoby
Yeah.
Brissett is starting. Not entirely surprised. Ben and I recorded on Tuesday after Monday Night Football, and they were like, "We don't know who's the star." I was like, "Yeah, right." And Kyler Murray's actually been IR'd. So the last time these teams played, Kyler Murray was the quarterback, so it's very different. But this is, of course, a much bigger challenge defensively for Jacoby Brissett than the Dallas Cowboys defense. So what would be your key in this matchup, this divisional matchup?
Yeah, so my key is, will the Cardinals defense be able to replicate or, roll out the same type of performance as they did last week against Dallas? Because I thought last week they were phenomenal. I mean, the coverage looks, the pressure they were able to get against Dak, I thought was just awesome. However, the Seattle offense is arguably the best in the NFL right now, which is crazy because they don't have a running game. But I think with the way Sam Darnold is playing, and Arizona outside of last week, which they were able to get to Dak, which is awesome. Walter Nolan had a great game. They're only 25th in pressure rate in the NFL. And if you don't get to Sam Darnold and you don't pressure him, he's able to just sit back in the pocket and pick zone defenses apart. I think the Cardinals run zone 75% of the time. So this is a great matchup for Sam Darnold. Him and JSN just have great, unreal chemistry. They traded for Rashid Shaheed, so we'll see if he's involved this week or maybe have a few packages. But I just feel like in order to kind of disrupt Sam Darnold, you got to have pressure. You got to be able to get him off his spot at least early on. And outside of last week, the Cardinals really haven't been able to do that. So I think my key is this Cardinals pass rush for real, or was last week an anomaly? Because if it is an anomaly, I think the Seattle passing game is gonna, just continue to roll and shred this defense.
I'm really interested in the Cardinals defense right now and the match. And I thought it was a really eye-opening performance from the young players. Will Johnson's been good all year for them.
Baller.
Walter Nolan was so good against the run in that.
Jordan Burch making some plays.
Yeah, man, like right. What a draft class, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And that was more impressive to me than ripping up the Dallas Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. And that's going to be way more challenging for Jacoby Brissett, this Seahawks defense. But the Cardinals defense, though, actually did a decent job against Seattle last time these teams played. Something I noted, I think I mentioned this on my pod with Ben when talking about the Rashid Shaheed trade. Seattle's defense has really feasted on teams playing base defense against them, meaning putting 3 linebackers on the field, and they've really played a lot and against single high.
Yep.
But and they've been able to do so because they put heavy body, they put tight ends and fullbacks, a fullback on the field. The Cardinals defense plays too high at the 4th highest rate in the NFL. If I'm Arizona and Nick Rallis is a very smart defensive coordinator, I'm saying run the damn ball, Seattle, because you're not good at it, right?
Yeah.
So I think this could be weirdly challenging for Seattle. I'm not saying that they won't be able to beat it. I just think this particular defense is tricky, and I think we're going to see more and more defenses basically beg Seattle to run the ball. And I'm interested in seeing if they can punish them for it, because that's been the one weakness of this Seahawks team is they can't run the football.
I'm a Kenneth Walker guy. I just don't know what's going on with the Seattle's rushing attack. I've never been a running back committee guy. I really think a running back has to kind of get rhythm throughout the game, kind of feel the defense out, and kind of just gain energy as the game goes on. I would love to see Seattle commit to one of them just for a game and kind of see what it looks like. Right now they just have so much just constant rotation. I feel like neither player can get into a rhythm and get going. I'd love to see Seattle feature Kenneth Walker against this defense and just see if that's the spark that they need. Because they're literally, I think, the worst running game in the NFL. It's not there. And if Seattle wants to make a deep run in the playoffs, they can't be this unbalanced, especially, as the weather gets colder.
Still taking Seattle, but I mean, the other side, I just think this Seahawks defense. I mean, I'm obviously a huge believer in the Seahawks offense, but I just think the Seahawks defense is so legit. They're so balanced, so good at everything. They've got so many guys to throw at you. I'm just saying, Cardinals defense is tricky. That was my big takeaway from Monday Night Football. I was like, who they got? They got some guys. They got a draft, and they got a quarterback who could play on time and execute the Drew Petzing offense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick on for obvious reasons, Panthers Saints. Panthers, man, 5-4. Here, mine's simple. If New Orleans sells out to stop the run, which they should, can Bryce Young beat them? Right? Like, can't Panthers run game is a force. Rico Dowdle has been it's interesting because like it's some of it is the blocking and the scheme, but Dowdle himself has just been phenomenal this year at creating on his own. I think NGS has that set rush yards over expected, which is basically like how much is the back doing on his own. If he's not the top, he's top 2 or 3. I mean, easily, but I'm
Oh,
sure
he's phenomenal. He's so freaking good.
And Saints run defense has not been good. So, nothing about the Saints, So I think that's my biggest question for the Panthers. This feels like a gut check week. We're like, can you do this? Can you do this? So this is my because Bryce wasn't good last week against like the Packers. So I would like this. To me feels like an opportunity for a Bryce Young, Ted McMillan get right game.
Yeah. I think this game is just so big for the Carolina Panthers as an organization. I was just doing some research earlier this week. I don't think Carolina has won as a favorite since 2021. Like, it's been like that drastic. I might be wrong on that. It might be a little less, but it's been multiple years since the Panthers has won as a favorite. So, they'll win a game, have an upset, people get excited about them, and then they choke, right? And so I think if the Panthers can come out, they're clear favorites. They're coming off a big win against, at Green Bay. This is a game they should win. Go out there and do what you're supposed to do. Run the ball. Bryce Young, take good care of the football. Make some plays down the field with Ted McMillan. On defensively, just get after Taylor Shuck. Just get after him, rattle him, get him off his spot, create some pressure. And this game should be easily available for you to win. Can you guys do it? Because you haven't so far, so I'm fascinated to see kind of if this is the time.
Such a weird team this year. Yeah. Like, they win the games they're supposed to lose. They lose the games they're supposed to win. I just never know. There's been like blowouts. It's such an odd team. But there's some very clear things, which is they can run the football and they can actually stop the run this year, which has been really one of the biggest. Quietly, the Panthers' run defense has been one of the most improved units in the entire NFL. Shout out Derek Brown, who does not get talked about enough and is an unbelievable football player. Okay. All 4 games, the final 4 are pretty good. Well, no, sorry. Lions Commanders is not a good game at all. We'll breeze past this one. There's 3 good games and 1 more bad game. Let's do Rams Niners. This is a big one.
Yeah.
I hate it when there's only 2 125 games, whatever. But this is the one that everyone's going to have eyes on. The Niners, against all odds, are still 6-3. The Rams are 6-2. These teams played, people forget, and this was the, oh my God, how is Mac Jones winning this game? And Mac Jones,
they were like 8.5 point dogs. Like, it was
crazy.
Wild.
It was Thursday Night Football, right? Or
Thursday Night Football. Yeah, they're 8.5 point dogs, and Mac Jones came out and shredded them.
Okay, I'm on the Niners. You're on the Rams. Why don't you go first? Because my thoughts are pretty Mac Jones, or they're up. They're about that.
Yeah, so kind of going back to that. So when they first played, I think it was week 5, Thursday Night Football. I think it was Mac Jones, maybe his first kind of official start or whatever for Brock Purdy. He came out and shredded them. I think he threw for 342 yards. This Rams defense actually did a really good job against Christian McCaffrey. They held him to just 57 yards. So my key to the game is this, Mina. Can the Rams front 4 get to Mac Jones? Right now, Mac Jones' average time to throw is 2.67 seconds. So that's the third.
Yeah. Like just
gone. It's the third fastest in the league. And the 49ers offense lacks big plays. So it's all about yards after the catch with George Kittle, with McCaffrey, with Juwan Jennings. And that's how they can move the ball. Well, if the Rams front 4 can get to Mac Jones before he's able to dump it off to his playmakers, I don't see how this Niners offense can move the ball against this defense. Like, this defense is so good, but the only way for the Niners to really move the ball is just literally yards after the catch. So I'd love to see the front four of the Rams get to the quarterback, and then it's night for the 49ers.
It's very funny because my key for the Niners was, if Mac Jones can throw the ball super quick again, can you get yards after the catch and keep
Yeah.
because that was what happened in the last game. So he had a 2.56 time to throw in the last game, and the Rams allowed 184 yards after the catch, which is the most they've allowed in the entire season. For this was the Kendrick Bourne game, right? If I remember correctly, where he like went crazy.
He literally went off, just like went ballistic.
The reason I'm sure you as well we're focused on this side of the ball is the other side just looks like such a mismatch to me. I mean, this Rams offense right now is just a juggernaut.
So good, so balanced. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And the Niners do not have the corners to handle what the Rams.
And they lost Michael Williams. He was one of their best run defenders to an ACL. I mean, it's just they don't have enough bodies anymore, I think, to keep up with this Rams offense the way Stafford is playing. I just don't think they're going to come up with enough stops. So can the Niners offense score enough points against the Rams? I don't think so. So I'm going to Rams here on the road, but
because the last time they played, Matthew Stafford threw it 47 times for 389 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they lost.
Just
crazy. They bowed up in the red zone. That was big. I'm taking the Rams this time. I just think it was like a weird, okay, Kendrick Bourne. How many receiving yards? Yeah, it was unbelible. He had 142 receiving yards.
Yeah, 142 yards. Yeah.
Crazy. And then CMC through the air was a big factor, which, is something you want to do again. You probably want to attack the second level of the Rams defense, who have been much better. It's been a weakness of theirs in the past. But, I'm going Rams in this one. I don't think it'll happen again. I just think the Rams offense is too good.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Lions Commanders will not. I'll be real quick. I mean, this is to me just a bloodbath. The Lions run game against the Commanders run defense is about as big of a mismatch as you'll find in the NFL. Particularly the Commanders defense is bad at a lot of things, but runs outside the tackles have just been a nightmare for them. And by God, that's Jahmyr Gibbs music. So I mean. We talked a little bit about the Commanders. The Lions losing to Minnesota. I just feel like they ran into a great Brian Flores game plan defensively. I think at the beginning they were fine after the first quarter. It was just kind of like a weird divisional opponent. Great coach. I'm not terribly worried. I think teams are going to continue to attack Gibbs. And that's something I suspect Washington will try to do after watching the tape last week is try to keep Gibbs in as a pass protector and attack him. So that's something that John Morton's got to have a change up for. Running the football will help, actually just handing it off. And I think that'll be easy to do with this one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one for the Commanders. I have a Mariota jersey back there, but, I think it might be a bad day for Marcus and his team. I think Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, I think they're going to just destroy this depleted secondary for the Commanders. Marshon Lattimore, who wasn't even having a good year towards ACL last week, they're just too banged up on defense to keep up with this Lions offense. I think Lions are going to score at will here. And Dan Campbell, after a loss, Mina, he's 12-0 since 2022. Wow, this is the ultimate motivator, able to use a loss and just hype his team up. I think they're going to come out for blood on Sunday. So it's going to be a tough one for the Commanders. I hate to be them right now.
No, this is ugly. Commanders also maybe should have been sellers. Just going to throw that out there. Another team where I'm Debo, perhaps. Okay, 2 more games. 2 good games.
Yeah.
Steelers, Chargers. Let's do this one. Ooh. This is a good one. I'm on the Charger side of it. You're on the Steelers, who just came off of, massive upset of the Colts. What are you on for the Steelers in this game?
I think it's really simple. Can you pressure Justin Herbert and take advantage of this Chargers banged up offensive line? I mean, the splits when Joe Alt is in the game this year is so depressing. They're the 6th best offense in EPA when he's playing. And then they just dramatically fall to 23rd when he's not in the lineup. They just have no shot to protect for Herbert when he's not in the lineup. Like it's just brutal. The Steelers finally found some pass rush last week. Alex Highsmith, T.J. Watt, like Derek Harmon's playing well inside. I just feel like this is the perfect spot for Mike Tomlin on this defense to tee off and get after the quarterback and make the Chargers run the ball. And I think that's really the Chargers offense's only shot is if they run
Hey,
the
you're
ball.
taking my key. Run the damn ball.
I know. Hey, I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah, no, I just wrote, can you punish them on the ground,
Yeah.
if they aggressively, because that was the thing against the Colts. They just played the pass so aggressively
Yeah.
in that one. I mean, the TJ Watt strip sack was play action. Like he's been in the backfield. He doesn't even look at the back. I think it was like first time. I mean, it was the first time. Anyways, in any case, he went straight for Daniel Jones. And the backers were playing the pass really aggressively. Now, I think, that was a pretty Colts specific game plan for sure. But I think for the Chargers, you got to run the ball to punish the pass rush for being aggressive. You got to run the ball because it's your really only chance, given the discrepancy between. And you got to run the ball because you're decent at it. Even without go out, they've actually been okay running the football. I think Vidal's been good for them, a good back. And Herbert's got to be a part of that run game too, I think, to have a shot in this one. And I'm not buying the Steelers' defensive turnaround entirely, to be honest. Like, I think moving Ramsey to safety was helpful, and I think they had a great game plan against the Colts. But I also think the Colts should have just run the ball more in that one, and I think it'll be interesting because the Chargers have been very pass heavy this year. But if I'm Roman and I'm looking at my offensive line, I'm looking at that defense, I really try to find ways to get going on the ground. On the other side, it's an interesting matchup on the other side because we know what the Rodgers offense is. The Chargers defense has had some regression, I would say, and you've seen they're not quite as good as they looked at the beginning of the season, but they're still good against short passes. They'll still blow up a screen. They still tackle well. They're getting good pass rush now with Khalil Mack, so it's not an easy matchup for Aaron Rodgers, and I would say it's a more difficult one than the Colts without their cornerbacks were last week.
Yeah, and then Odafe Owe, quietly one of the best in-season trade acquisitions. I think he has 4 sacks since he's been traded to the Chargers a month ago, so he's coming on strong. I do think from a Chargers defensive backfield standpoint, I do like the DK matchup for the Steelers. I don't know if the Chargers have a corner that can match up with DK on the outside. Like, DK is just a physically imposing receiver. I think he's going to have some ability to win and separate. And then, I love Derwin James, but the other safety, I'm blanking. I think it's Tony Jefferson. Against these tight ends, I think it's going to be advantage Steelers. So I like the Steelers actually on the road here. In a surprising one, I think they're underdogs as well, but I just feel like there's more. It's gonna be close. I just feel like the Steelers have more advantages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, how much am I weighing the Steelers defense? Because the Steelers defense has been such a nightmare. And it's like, wait, they just had their best game of the season. It was a great game plan. I think the Colts were really taken off guard by it. And I really am nervous about the Joe Alt injury against this Steelers defensive line. Maybe I'm going to go Steelers too. I don't love it, but I'm going to go Steelers too.
Yeah. Don't feel great about it, but I don't know. Until I see this offensive line without Joe Alt string good performances together, I just can't trust it.
One thing the Chargers, by the way, have really struggled against designed rollouts. They are dead last in yards per attempt and 31st in EPA per play, and that's something they'll throw in a few of those with Rodgers to mix it up off of the boots. So something to keep an eye on. Okay, so I think for Rodgers though, you can't just. I know it's going to be a lot of dink and dunk. It always is, but you want to be able to run the football. I think we're going to see a lot of jumbo in this one, and then they'll probably play action off of it. All right, Eagles Packers. Ooh, buddy, I have to go to Green Bay for this one.
Such a good game. Oh my gosh,
great game. The Packers reeling off of the defeat by the Panthers. The Eagles coming off of the bye. Looked like they figured things out. The Eagles, who have been very active. You had Jalen Phillips. You had Michael Carter III. So they're going to kick DeJean out. I mean, there's so many storylines here. I'll go first. Packers offense is my focus in this one because I did a little rant about them on Tuesday. They were one of our wuss of the week. And I'm going to reiterate something that I mentioned in that one, but I think is important here. Stop playing for third down. Just stop it. Stop it. It's either dink or dunk, or it's like schemed up shots. Tuesday I ranted about the absence of the intermediate passing game. If they try to come out against this Eagles defense with a bunch of screens and, sweeps, it's not going to work. You got to attack them downfield. And it doesn't have to, I don't mean deep. I mean over 10 yards. Carter, if he starts a slot, is the guy who I'm trying to isolate in this. If
you circle him for sure.
Just, it's always with the Eagles team, whoever's not DeJean and Mitchell. And it's interesting because Kraft had been such a weapon for them in that regard. It's either going to be Golden. They put Watson in the slot a few times. Dobbs is very good there as well. Just normal. I just want to see on first and second down, Jordan Love throwing the ball over 10, in that 10 to 20 yard rate. Like, please, because this Eagles defense is too good against the quick stuff, and the Packers cannot continue to play for third downs the way they've been.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur, he coaches. I think this is literally why they lost last week. He coaches not to lose rather than coaching to win. And I think that kind of goes into your point. He's so conservative. Exactly.
Worse opponents, yeah.
Exactly. He's so conservative, just down to down. It drives me crazy because Jordan Love, if you unleash Jordan Love, I think this Packers team is one of the best teams in the NFL. I love Jordan Love. I like the way he plays, but he has just handcuffs on him by his coach. I don't get it. But anyways, so my key for the Eagles is on their offense. I think that if the Eagles can run the ball here, the Packers don't stand a chance. The Eagles are the 5th best rushing team in the NFL. The Packers are just average on run defense. And I feel like coming out of their Eagles bye week, they probably did a lot of self-scouting and realizing, hey, why isn't our offense looking like how it did last year? And I think that starts and ends with 26. With Saquon Barkley, getting him going. And I think that's going to be a focus moving forward for the later part of the season. And so with the Packers not being the best run defense, they don't run the ball particularly well either. And they're one of the worst, maybe the worst red zone offense I've ever seen. They're so bad in the red zone. Last week was ridiculous. I mean, the wide receiver screens and then the loss of Tucker Kraft in the red zone is not going to help as well. Yeah. I just feel like the Eagles should shorten the game, run the ball. They're a great red zone team, and I think they'll be able to kind of control this game and get a win on the road. So I love the Eagles here, and them running the ball is the reason why they win.
Yeah, the running thing is really interesting because it was such an issue at the beginning of the year, and then you saw them slowly figure it out. And then before the bye, Saquon finally explodes, right? And a lot of it was those under-centered duo runs. I think those will be effective against Green Bay if they can sort of replicate what we saw against New York. Now, that said, Packers have been mid. The Giants suck, and I think I don't want to overreact too much
for sure
against the run. I think in the pass defense, the Packers can actually stop them. I think Hafley will come out with a good plan to force Jalen Hurts to throw over the middle of the field. I think, obviously if it gets to third down, you've got some matchup advantages there with that pass rush. I think you've got it. It just, can you run the ball on them? Can you do it? Yep. For me, it's Green Bay, can you run the ball? Or pardon me, Philadelphia, can you run the ball? Green Bay, can you throw on him? Play action. I want to see first down play action against this Eagles defense. I think both of these teams are going to have done a lot of self-scouting.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see improvements on both sides. I think Matt LaFleur has been frustrating this year, but I think he's a very smart coach. I think he will find ways to get Watson. I think we're going to see Watson in the slot. I do. Part of me wants to take Green Bay, but it's because it's in Green Bay.
But
they're
so
inconsistent.
It's inconsistent team. I mean, the team you saw against the Steelers 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Where was that? That was a Super Bowl caliber team.
And they ripped up the Steelers, who just won, look good. I think Jalen Phillips also potentially could be big in this one because the Packers' offensive line is really struggling. And
they're banged up too up front. They're banged up. I think Eagles front seven's gonna be able to make a strong impact in this game for sure. Jalen Phillips, Jalen Carter. I like the Eagles here, Mina. I really do.
I'm on the Eagles. I think I'm going to take the Eagles as well, but I reserve the right to change my mind at some point. I think it'll be a good one. I think it'll be close. I do, which the line reflects that. All right, that's every game. I picked 1, 2, 3, 4 upsets, so we'll see.
Oh, there we go.
Brentley, remind folks where they can find your work.
Yeah, you can find my work at A to Z Sports. Also, I do some things for Underdog Fantasy that's posted on their YouTube. And then my Twitter's at Brentley12.
Great to have you here. I will be back on Tuesday. Dominique will be back to recap what should be an amazing Monday night game. On my TV pod with David Dennis Jr., viewer discretion. We just finished Love is Blind, and we're moving on to Married at First Sight.
Oh, gosh.
Which is an insane show. I think after a few weeks, then we'll get into Stranger Things, so that'll be fun.
Are you excited for the new season, or
I
what's
remember
your vibe?
What happened on the last? It's been so long since the last.
Well, it's been like 3 years. I genuinely don't remember either. It's like Vecna is the bad guy. I can't even tell you.
Stranger Things was on. Aaron Rodgers was a Packer. I feel like maybe that's wrong, but it feels right in my brain.
It feels right for sure.
Thank you, as always, to my friends at Omaha Productions who make this show. Kirsten Sebecki, Owen Saylor, Jack Foster, Tucker Tash. And also, I mention this every week, but we launched a show Instagram. It's at Mina Kimes Show, obviously. And I'm doing these top 5 power rankings every week. Brentley, I have no clue who the top 5. I kind of tried to think about it on the plane ride back from Dallas. And I was like, I need to sit on this because this is the most
top 5 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, like who?
I mean,
in order is the hard part. Who's the best team in the NFL? Let's just do that one. Who do you think is the best team in the NFL?
I think the best team in the NFL right now is probably the Bills. Don't love it. Really don't love it.
Yeah, but all those NFC teams will be able to run on them. It's so hard. They'll be in my top 5.
I can't put the Seahawks in that one, even though they're definitely in the top 5. But
the Rams, the Eagles. Are we kicking out the Chiefs and Lions just because they lost?
It's tough. It's tough.
Never been harder. All right, well, go check out Mina Kimes Show. I will put that out later this week, and I will see you guys then. Bye.